Hello, everyone. Tony Richards here. It's that time on the show where I'm going to give you this week's leadership and business lesson. And one of my favorite quotes that I use often, and it's one that it just came to me years ago, but your destiny requires diligence. Whatever you feel that you're supposed to be doing, whatever your contribution's supposed to be, whatever you think your gift is, it's going to require some diligence on your part in order to make that happen in reality. And today I want to talk to you about diligence as a learned skill. In every circumstance in which we undertake something, we experience a certain outcome. Some are incredibly good, some are incredibly bad, some are great, poor, okay, so-so, and catastrophic. Believe me, I've experienced all of these outcomes, everything from poor, great, okay, so-so, and even more in my lifetime. If you follow my recommendation to make at least 20% of your reading time in a year to be biographies of high achievers, you'll find they've all experienced these and more in a variety of outcomes. At the same time, you'll find in particular areas they achieved outstanding outcomes and results. Take Albert Einstein, for example. He was horrible at relationships, and he was terrible at being a husband. He was not an expert at social relationships at all, but he achieved exceptional scientific outcomes. And it doesn't matter if it's George Washington, Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, Sam Walton, Benjamin Franklin, Steven Spielberg, or a host of others. They had all had outcomes also. They managed to achieve at least some exceptionally great outcomes because they learned one specific principle. It doesn't have anything to do with your background, has nothing to do with your education, or maybe even your intelligence. It's learning to practice the learned skill of being diligent. It's unfortunate, but this particular skill is pretty rare. Today, most people are driven more by instant gratification rather than developing diligence. Push a button and whoop, there it is. We want as much as we can get as fast as we can get it. We want to order it on one side of the building and pick it up on the other in just a matter of minutes. As one writer said, 1 jelly donut is yummy, but 3 will make you sick, and 6 is an eating disorder. We all have a natural tendency to follow the path of least resistance. The good news is we have the ability to choose, and we can choose to follow a path of greater resistance and develop diligence to accomplish exceptional outcomes. It's easier to quote someone else than have an original thought. If I haven't at least moved you to think about becoming more diligent, let me share a couple more benefits to being more diligent with you. Number 1, you get the advantage. In many situations, we're simply competing with ourselves. As a friend of mine used to say, we have met the enemy, and the enemy is us. Yes, as my alarm goes off every morning at 4:45 and my body screams at me to go back to sleep, it doesn't want to get out of bed and go through stretching exercises or maybe drive to the gym, do a cardio session followed by arms, or cardio session and legs, followed by driving home and making a thorough list of that day's appointments and activities, and maybe even an hour of reading. My developed skill of diligence answers and gets out of bed. It's an advantage I have over what my body is saying. Your head and your body are saying things to you, and the advantage is when the voice of your developed skill of diligence answers. Number 2, you become a creator of your future, not a victim of circumstance. Our culture is producing more and more victims of circumstance. You can always find someone who has worse circumstances than you. You can always find someone who's had to overcome more than you. I've got a friend who was an NCAA 2011 wrestling champion named Anthony Robles. He was born with one leg. Here's what I want to challenge you to do. You ought to get down on the floor and wrestle someone 125 pounds and only use one leg and see how you do. Anthony would not be stopped, and today he travels around the country inspiring others to create the future rather than being a victim of circumstance. He could have easily chose the latter. Number 3, true fulfillment and satisfaction can be yours, and on purpose. Don't be lured in by people with the get it easy and get it quick scheme. Speakers who have no real background, history, or track record in what they're pitching you. A lot of people can develop speaking ability, but not as many people can develop diligence and positive results. There's a difference in having a force of personality and also producing exceptional outcomes. You might want to check up and ask a few questions about the real and true results someone have produced before you take their advice. And number 4, you will be in control rather than being the controlled. This speaks for itself. Don't be on autopilot. Be a creative producer in your life, not a controlled consumer. Who decides how much you spend? Who decides how you spend your days? Who decides how much money you make? Get in touch with the reality that no person is actually keeping you from producing exceptional results. You're not a victim of the economy. You're not a victim of the environment. Those things are temporary and can be changed. The diligent people change those things. Victims wait and hope someday somebody will change it for them. Victims believe no one's willing to help them. But creators and people who have diligence get in control and figure it out. I got a couple of things I want to run past you. Number 1, on a scale of 1 to 10, do you have a 10 in the area of clarity on what exceptional results would be for you? Number 2, can you commit to persist through tough times, disappointments, and failures without taking a U-turn backward? Number 3, can you begin to work smart, specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and time-bound? 4, can you put aside your personal ego and take some straight talk about your plan and your performance? Number 5, can you perform consistently, achieving higher levels of practice and effort as time advances? 6, can you work diligently to hit timely benchmarks and outcomes when they come due? Number 7, can you sacrifice working on your favorite things and instead work on the most effective things? 8, can you focus on giving your very best on every task you do rather than being lazy on some and really diligent on others? Number 9, can you focus on having a beginner's mind in which you put aside all you think and know in the pursuit of learning something new? Number 10, can you change your perception of yourself from victim of circumstance to creator of my future? And number 11, can you submit yourself to someone else who could put some rocket fuel on what you're trying to do? Just some things for you to consider from this week's Better Than Before. This is Tony Richards. Until I see you next time, remember, everything gets better when you get better.
Thank you for listening to Better Than Before with Tony Richards, a business leaders podcast powered by Clear Vision Development Group. For more resources from Tony, visit clearvisiondevelopment.com. Join us next time for another episode of Better Than Before with Tony Richards.